Well,
I'm gonna suck up right. Um, you received the full balance sheet and P&L this month that the Finance Committee receives as opposed to the summary, so my apologies. On the balance sheet, you'll see that we're at the third page of the balance sheet. We're up $1.1 million. And basically, that's because of the $175,000 land that we have receivable from the county. We put that's 11 Warren Street. Due diligence is all but complete. I'm meeting with Chairman Morrell on Thursday to determine when the closing will be scheduled. We have to either withdraw from the purchase and sale contract or close before the middle of October, or we lose the deposit. Deposit was advanced to funds for the deposit were advanced to us by advancing the balance of the 2023 county contract. And so obviously, once you approved last month the assignment of the agreement to the county in consideration of the $175,000, that would make us whole on that contract. Our loan funds, if we look at, we do have almost $142,000 on the books, more than last year, in the county loan fund, and $82,000 on the CEDC loan fund. We are up because last year we didn't hold title to the $232,000 Commerce Park land. And we also had the adjustment that we had to put on the books at year end under the leasing accounting methodology, which is almost $200,000. We do show a fairly large accounts receivable, and primarily it's $358,000. 175 is the money from the county, and the rest is because they pay us quarterly. We accrue monthly on Columbia Forward, on our county contract, and on the housing contract with the county, but they pay quarterly. So I got a little concerned when I saw that high of accounts receivable, but it's primarily money due to us from the county that I don't think is an issue. And when you see our operating account balance down 179,000, 175 of that is money that we used for the option. Any questions on the balance sheet? Moving to the P&L. When I look at the last page of the P&L, we had projected to have a negative income of $27,000 at this point in the year, again based on timing, but we're at negative 13. So we're cut that in half. When we look at the income, we're down $10,000 on administrative revenue, primarily because we thought that both the 708 State Street housing project with the city IDA would have closed by now. It's scheduled to close. We have documents that are going back and forth with the Hudson IDA, and it should close in September. That's the Galvin Affordable Project. Galvin has not yet received an award of tax credits for the building across the street. So that's on hold. When that project closes, we get a $10,000 fee from the IDA based on our contract. We're also working with the IDA, City IDA, on Providence Hall and Skylar Court apartments, which are 30-year-old Section 8 projects down near the waterfront. K&R Development out of Westchester has purchased them. We just received a bond cap allocation. They're going to be doing the first tax-exempt bond issuance that's been done in the county in probably 15 years, but it's through the City IDA. Again, when that closes, we'll get a $10,000 fee based on our contract with the City IDA, where we get $10,000 a year for administrative services and 10% of IDA fees paid on any closing up to $10,000. So I think that'll take care of itself. The membership, we're down $4,800. The accountants make us book membership on a 1/12 accrual. So if you join on July 1, we have to put half of it in accrual for 2023. We're bringing over $1,500 a month because we had an $18,000 accrual that we had started to absorb during the first half of the year. When we look at this, I think we budgeted $35,000 for membership. I think it was a result. We had been as high as 50. I think during COVID we didn't really put pressure on people, but Jessica and Riley and I are working on a new membership drive. With the old fundraising pyramid, with 2 at $2,500, 4 at $1,500, 6 at, and I think then we're going to go back and look over a period of time, who were those in those boxes, and then go and see them personally, and then build that out. And I think I was budgeting 50 for next year. I think it's really selling sponsorships. The good corporate citizen member isn't as in this economy isn't as much as getting visibility either at the annual meeting, or we're looking at having a fall housing forum, those types of things. So when we go into the expenses, the way we catch up on being $30,000 down in revenue is we're down $22,000 in consulting fees. We're down $8,000 in employee expense, primarily because we budgeted for an intern, and Jessica was able to get us into a county internship program that I think was state or federally funded, and we had an intern for 14 weeks where the county paid the cost. We are looking to have an intern in the fall. We'd be working through the college. I don't know exactly the name of the office, but we've recently gotten interns there before. We're down $23,000 on new initiatives. Again, I think we'll spend some of that before year end on housing. We are working with Pattern for Progress on an update to individual town profiles. We did continue to have expense related to broadband, and we had budgeted $8,000 for Columbia Forward expenses, and they haven't really materialized at the pace that we thought they would. Our office expense is always a difficult expense because we're $2,800 over on $57,000 expense. We have gotten the bank fees down because we also are getting the bank interest up. We're getting we do have a 3.8% CD on $400,000 of loan fund money. We are on some type of a platform where 4 of our accounts at KeyBank can get 3.5%, and I think some of the bank fees then they absorb in the they net it out of the interest. So this month, I actually have on my schedule to talk to the bank after Labor Day to see why did they drop so much without actually asking them that, things like that. It's like, oh, we missed a couple of fees. But, on professional fees, we're up 12,000, but as you recall, we had not budgeted for the added accounting expense that related to the single audit that was required because of the percentage of federal monies that we had received, which will again be the case this year. We did discuss at the Finance Committee meeting to have a discussion with our auditors as to fees so that we're not on the eve of having to sign the engagement letter without having that discussion. I did get a response, which we will discuss at the next audit committee or the Finance Committee meeting. You know, I think there's a balance between going out for a bid to save 10 or 15% or pay more than 10 or 15%, and at the same time lose the institutional memory and experience of the auditors that we have. But I do think we have to look at those things on every 3 or 4 years. I did discuss with them that if we were to continue, that they needed to rotate the partner and the manager. And Matt Vanderbeck had taken over for Mike Bucci several years ago. Matt is at a point now where he's being promoted throughout the firm at a level that he said that makes a lot of sense as well. He said he would be our relationship partner, but we had an issue, but that they would assign people who have worked on it, but who have done, and that would include Nicole Overbaugh, who started out as the worked through the account throughout. We do break out the expenses and income based on the loan fund and the operating account, because we continue not to take any funds from the loan fund to subsidize or to even cover some of the cost of running the loan fund. And again, we want to look at that with the Finance Committee. We wanted to build the loan fund up to where it is now, which is with the additional 750 that we were awarded from the SBA, brings us almost to $3.8 million. And so for the last 8 years, we put all the interest earned both on the SBA accounts and the CEDC loan fund into the loan fund itself, which I think when we looked at it and did the 8-year summary for at year end last year, was over $500,000 of interest. What that does, though, is it keeps pulling down the operating cash balance, which had been close to $750,000 8 years ago, and if we add back the 175, it's close to 500 or 600. I like to keep that operating cash balance at approximately the level of the county contract. So if there was some issue that the county cut back, that you would have reasonable time to adapt your income and expense ratios.
So if we did put the money back in the loan fund, you use it as a reserve?
Well, we would, I think also we've always not wanted to have excessive money in, because the accountants do criticize that as well. I think we should look at the end of the day, it ensures that we don't report that we had a net loss, but I don't know that if you started to take it and apply it to operating expense, you wouldn't have any different bottom line, but you would not be continuing to build the loan fund. And I think what Martha and I and Jessica, Steve have talked about, at a $4 million loan fund, you may have additional operating costs because to get the money out on the street. And going from a 3.5% COVID era interest rate to 5 to 6% interest rate, you're going to have more revenue. So I do think that we may be at a point where it makes sense to find out what other loan funds are charging as a administrative fee and use that to build the staff while you're trying to get more loans on the street.
That is talking about raising again.
Yeah. And Martha, we were looking at this. The state just came out with a program that I was all excited about till I found out it was what, 9.5%? 9 to 12%. Yeah. You know, I think we still want to be, you know, focus on our mission that we're trying to help small businesses that otherwise might not be able to get started. I was going to report later, but it's timely now. Jessica's applied for a $300,000 grant from the state for a micro enterprise fund, which would allow us to provide businesses up to 5 people, including the owner. So they'd be really small businesses, a $25,000 grant that could then be used for, along with our loan fund, where you could get a loan as well. It does require that for each increment of dollars up to that amount, a certain number of low or moderate income employees or business owners. It'd be just another tool in the toolkit. So yeah, I think we're in very good shape. I think we're making progress on the reporting aspect of it. And you know, the difficulty was I created by, if you recall, the county started, we started the county forward, Columbia Forward grant program and the other program in July of last year, but the county paid us for the full year. And I put half of the money in a deferral account so that we would have it for the balance of 2025 from July to December, so that we actually gave them a full year of service for the money. And I think the issue we've been having is when when the accrual gets credited, I think there's a confusion between the accounts receivable and the deferred account in terms of where they take the credit. And so we're working with our outside firm to get that where it's a procedure where it's not random. But I think I have a little softness between our deferred account and our accounts receivable. But Brian has been very helpful as well in walking us through that, and Tara and the finance committee, we had a really good meeting the last time. So thank you. Any questions?
Okay, quick question on the website with the P&L statement. It's almost $7,000 and our website's pretty static. Is that you just have to pay it no matter what each month?
No, they had to. It was 8 years old, and all the plugins were had to be redone. Jessica would be able to explain it better, but you know, I can go over that. I can go over that with you to show you what was the monthly expense and what was the. It was about to crash.
Okay, I was make sure we weren't paying $7,000 every year.
No, but I do think it. You know, I like to keep the website simple and clean. And we do have the requirements of maintaining certain materials that the authority budget office requires, or you get whacked. So, but maybe we could have some conversation about that.
It's not clear.
No, but I think you might have some insights into it, because I'm beyond the ability to figure out how you develop a website. Any other questions?
Mike, you started out by saying we're sponsoring 2 events, one being the Winter Walk. What does that cost CEDC?
Fare, I believe, is $1,250, and Winter Walk is $2,000. We've been asked to serve on
Just 2,000?
Yeah. And, you know, our logo isn't as big as the 5,000 or 10,000, but my position is they're both events that.
No, that's fine. I probably want to.
No, that they're both events that generate economic focus and activity. We don't get into supporting other not-for-profits because, you know, the money that we raise or we're given or you contribute is meant to support our mission. And, you know, you could spend $50,000 a year being an honorary committee member at the 40 galas that we have every year. So, occasionally I do some personally, but you know, I think in these organizations, I've always tried to, there wasn't a link to our mission. You know, they give you the $150 ad, but people are pretty understanding.
Quick other naive question. Where does the county tourism department report to?
To the Board of Supervisors. Ann Cooper is the director, and we work relatively closely with her and her team. We've had a very good working relationship over the years. She is appointed, it's an appointed position by the chairman of the Board of Supervisors with reporting to one of their committees. On Winter Walk, they're having some issues because Hudson Hall has indicated they cannot carry the full burden anymore. They calculated it out, that it was over $60,000 in staff and time and expenses. So there was a group that came together that we participated in with the Chamber, the Hudson Business Coalition, the Hudson Development Corp, the city, as to how you could divide up some of the activities. So, DPW would coordinate the closing of the street, not Hudson Hall. They'd see if Hudson Business Coalition could coordinate all of the involvement by the Warren Street businesses, just to spread out the work. But we've been a $2,000 participant.
Motion to approve the treasurer's report. Motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Motion, we have a second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion's carried. Next item, up on the committees, the first is audit and finance, there was no meeting.
We don't have any appointments at this time. We have 2 slots available. Just waiting to get those resignations. So we interviewed. Please send me the recommendation in writing. Helpful with your contact information. And also the board and committee meeting calendar needs to be approved.
The appointments. Committee appointments. I didn't hear you.
The calendar.
Okay, we also need to approve the committee
Those
appointments.
committee candidates, I'm not sure what that.
I think it was to discuss committee candidates and the fact that the committee did meet, did have an interview, but made no did not take any action to recommend anyone to the full board.
And I believe everybody.
I'm sorry.
Candidates for the individual. Yeah, I think
Does that need
everybody
approval?
Somebody, we put Ken back.
Hey,
Sorry, Ken. All right, yeah, I guess we should put Ken back on the motion.
So does that need full board approval? It does.
Yes, I guess so. Can I make a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Oh, yeah, happy birthday too.
Yes.
Happy birthday. Today?
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Okay, then we need to approve the committee meeting calendar for next year.
Make a motion.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Subject to inability to attend or reschedule. Sorry, Lisa.
Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. Loan committee also met.
Thank you, Dave.
Loan client B is also making monthly payments, and if you look at their principal balance, one of their loans will be paid off next month, and the other one will be paid off. Loan client C, we just sent a demand letter. I have left a message. We're trying to reach out to that client. If there's no response, Loan client D came in yesterday with a $50 payment. She has asked for her loan to be modified. We'll talk internally as to whether it makes sense. Loan client E is non-communicative, and that one will be written off. Loan client F, again, they're making monthly payments.
Delinquencies are up, but not alarmingly so. But do you have concerns that they will spike in the future?
I'm sorry.
That there will be more delinquencies as we move forward?
I am about the economy, and I'm concerned about the number of clients that we have to nudge every month. Yeah.
No. And then you also have an application.
Correct.
Yes, good morning, everyone. For your review and approval, Bex LLC located here in Hudson. They are a brewery tap room. Their request is for $60,000 that we divided between a $40,000 loan from our CEDC fund and a $20,000 loan from our SBA program. The interest rate on both loans is 6%, and the term for the CEDC loan would be at 120 months, while the SBA loan would amortize at 72 months. Total monthly payment of $775.54. Purpose of the loan, debt consolidation, working capital, and our collateral will be a lien on business assets and the personal guarantee of the principals. Bex LLC. Thank you.
What's the name of the business?
This is Bex LLC.
It's the depot.
Depot.
Depot, it's the depot. I get confused.
Yep. Thank you.
So this was voted on by the Mount Committee and carried. However, it was not unanimous. In fact, I was the outstanding vote that voted against it.
The personal guarantee, does that include looks like the principal funder of the enterprise, Brian, who's 957 into this? Is that?
Can we go
I see
into
that-
executive session?
What's that?
Can we go into executive session?
Yeah, we should motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can we just do that?
We approve.
Oh, that was the
We have a
commercial.
motion to approve as well. Second,
I'll second that.
and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's carried. Thank you. We're back to workforce education.
What we discussed was the issue of daycare and its impact on workforce and businesses, and the fact that one of the things we need to focus on is the in-home daycare, because there aren't facilities or operators necessary to run a 35-bed daycare, and there is state monies available. If you're under 8, is it that you don't have to have any certification from the state? Yeah. And what we were looking at was, how could we work partnership with Chris and Amanda and their organizations, and perhaps provide a $10,000 or $15,000 loan to someone who needed to make some modification to their residence, buy equipment, and those types of things. And there are several groups in the region who are conducting training programs, including the college.
Yeah, we're partnered with Family Woodstock. I reported on this, I think, in a previous meeting, but, in order to prepare people to, offer childcare at their homes.
And we realize it's a difficult thing that will require people that have some level of technical assistance that comes with the loan, because we did have a woman in New Lebanon who looked at this, should I quit my job, basically save the money there and bring in 2 other kids and match, or 4 other kids and match what my salary would have been if I have greater net doing that than continuing to work and paying. And it was a tight model because of what people can afford to pay. The other side of that, though, is that the county tells us, Commissioner Gibson tells us that there is more funds with Ed Nabozny, the former supervisor from Greenport, because they have an organization that has a daycare license, but they have no facility. And I just saw in Saugerties, there was a similar daycare that had to close in a old Catholic school because of some of those conditions, and monitoring how the state's handling the reissuance of that certificate.
The lack of daycare, coupled with the lack of housing, is dramatically affecting the job market. Expect to attract talent. And Sean Sawyer reported that he hired a key player in Alana, and she can't find a child, so it's nervous about whether she was able to take the job. And Mike, wasn't she in Florida?
Yeah.
In Florida. So it's like these two collisions, both related. So,
It's a nationwide phenomenon. I have a question. We talked about people who are currently going to be redoing the apartments that they just purchased. And one of my conversations years ago with Liz Tower, when they were considering redoing it, was making it subject to offering some sort of daycare facility within that facility, which hits a good amount of people that possibly need it. Could we have that conversation? Could you talk to the Hudson IDA, who I guess is spearheading this, about possibly having that conversation with people who are redoing or rebuilding certain housing, that would become part of the mix if they offer that service, or they offer the space so the Bosnia could utilize the space, because that is a huge opening now with them losing. They had problems during the pandemic, but they completely lost all facilities.
I think Chris's idea was phenomenal to have the daycare in the homes and in much smaller models all over the place, as opposed to having a central location. We live in Stuyvesant and work in Glover, driving to Greenport for daycare may not. So not only that, but if one closes, I mean, if it closes, it affects a huge amount. But all these smaller outposts closes, it's not.
Well, David, I agree. It could be a beautiful hybrid. I mean, that's one of the housing issues too, to spread it out, smaller resources, smaller facilities, and not so concentrated.
I think the best part was getting multiple groups that are engaged in this, so that we can be supportive without interfering with people who are it's their day job to pursue. And I think that was the direction that the board gave us with respect to our role. I'm sure you see it at the hospital.
Well, and one of the things, there is proposed retail space both at the Pocketbook Factory and at the Galvin housing projects. I don't know with respect to the existing projects that K&R are working on, whether they're didn't have that kind of space already. Do you have additional community activity space that can be used? But we can ask.
Thank you very much.
We're back to being the lowest unemployment rate in the state, under 3%. We did create 200 new jobs from last year, so there's 20,400 people in the workforce, but there's 68,000 people that live here. So we have a higher age population here based on looking at statistics on Social Security.
Mike, we're back to you with the.
Really quickly, we're working with broadband again in the sense that we're finishing up New Lebanon and Canaan with consolidated communications using money that was received from Congress, the request of then Congressman Delgado. Ghent and Austerlitz, who were also in that program, decided to use their own ARPA money to finish. One of the issues becomes that you get to the last 200 addresses in those two towns, and you're talking $30,000 hookup for one of the houses. With respect to the remaining 600 or 700 addresses in the county, we're working with the state. We have not taken the 4-town addresses off the list until we're sure that they're all connected. But they're having us match up against the FCC's most recent list and the PSC's most recent list. FCC addresses are difficult because we have addresses that they don't have, but that's because they allow fixed wireless as a service where, we're requiring 100. The FCC has addresses that we don't have, but I don't think they're getting the real-time updates that we're getting because of our engagement with the providers. Housing is going very well. Chris and I and Jessica appeared before the Board of Supervisors Economic Development Committee through the work that Chris has done over the last 6 months or so. We have a really exciting announcement, which I'll ask him to make.
Morning, everybody. So the Board of Supervisors at the previous Economic Development Committee meeting, asked us to host a presentation about New York State land banks. That went really well. We had the president of the New York Land Bank Association, who was also the executive director of the Albany Land Bank present, and the executive director of the Chicago County Land Bank. So more. We are also supporting 2 different land trust developments that are working up throughout the county. There are various different points, both have received some amount of grant funding, one of which we're the fiscal sponsor for. The other key thing is there are 3 different annual housing conferences. George and another one in Albany. And at each of those meetings, there will be several people from the state agency. So it's going to be a good time to get a lot of meetings out of the case that we're
So I think looking at the Board of Supervisors, 6 years ago, we had the first introduction of this, and there wasn't really much interest. The City of Hudson does their own foreclosures, and there weren't that many foreclosures for back taxes in the county where the bank didn't step in and make the county whole so that they didn't lose their collateral. I think part of the reluctance previously was before the Supreme Court case in June from Colorado, that was able, they had a piece of property that was worth 100,000 and somebody bid 80 on it. The county was only owed 20 in back taxes. They kept the net, where now they say you have to get the net back to the property owner. So I think it does open up an opportunity to get a land bank set up if we can get in under the wire. Right now, without the legislature expanding the program, I think there's only 5 or 6, 7 or 8 slots left. But I think that there were concerns on the part of individual supervisors that now it doesn't allow the land bank to override local zoning, right? It doesn't allow, if I don't want that there, the land bank will go ahead.
Does CEDC support the creation of a Columbia County Land Bank?
Yes, because, well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
See here.
Again, let's,
Well, I think we should, that's a good question.
well, let's do that. You guys want to approve adopting it? That we're behind it?
I think that task force, we were contracted by the Board of Supervisors to do this work, and I guess we did get ahead of ourselves if the board was opposed to a land bank, and the county wanted to do a land bank, when we tell them they had to.
That the CEDC endorses the county's creation of land bank. We have a motion.
What are the benefits of having?
Yeah, I like, I need a little more.
Or what are the, define the terms, what land bank?
That's what I asked first.
Well, Chris, quickly, because we're almost at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, so the next are both nonprofits and New York State public authorities, so they report to the ABO just like CEDC does as an LD state. The primary purpose of land banks is returning vacant abandoned tax delinquent properties to tax rolls, and also to remove blight. Demolition is actually a lot of the work that the more rural county land banks perform. Here in Columbia County, it's really, anecdotally, we have heard from people who want to donate property to nonprofits for affordable housing specifically. There are no nonprofits currently in the county that currently absorb property like that. Columbia Land Conservancy, those things, they don't really do housing, but they do conservation. So it's a little bit of a hub and a spoke model. We're forming a land. There are a lot of things that other counties have, other regions have that we don't. Just as far as community development organizations go, we have rural housing, our rural preservation company that really just sticks to us, and that's where the greatest need is. So the rest of the county doesn't really get in touch with that. We don't have any works partner. We don't have anyone that does foreclosure prevention counseling. So these are all things that we're hoping for in land bank and bringing into the county. At the end of the day, it's really about finding lands to build housing. Right? I've talked about the housing crisis well before we got to it on the agenda today. And one of the first things that you need are parcels. So this is where you get parcels that are relatively inexpensive. It doesn't necessarily need to be $1. That's how some of the land banks operate, but transactions will be negotiated on an individual basis. But the real value add is providing, whether it's for profit or nonprofit, the ability to.
If a town came and said, we don't want the county to transfer that land to the land bank to sell to someone to build affordable housing or industrial facility, the level of respect that each supervisor has for each other, they wouldn't force it on the town. And I think that's where two of the supervisors were very comfortable. PJ Keeler thought that it was important to have because you don't have to use it. You only use it if if there's a specific individual identified benefit for a particular transaction, but there are only 6 or 7 left, maybe 8. And if you have that tool in the toolbox, you're not precluded from not kicking yourself that you didn't have the access to it. I think it's going to be interesting to see how it works post this Supreme Court case. And there's no appropriation required by the county because it's fully grant funded by the state, including the startup. And I guess where I kind of missed this step was coming to the board at a later date to get approval for the county to retain CEDC to run the whole thing. But I guess it's an important step to see if the board is supportive of a land bank in the first instance. So I apologize.
Can you talk about the timing for a minute? You talked about there being 7 left. Supreme Court case.
Right. I think the county wants to. No, well, I think that the county, if they approve it on September 13th, they will be submitting an application that we have prepared for them, but it's not CEDC submitting it to see if a land bank is approved. If it's approved, then the county indicated they would come to us and ask, and we would need board approval to enter into a contract with them to manage and administer the land.
And there would be funding coming
From
to
the state,
CEDC
from the
for
state.
the administration of this, and does the
Right.
CEDC have any financial obligation for the redevelopment costs should properties get in there that
No.
be addressed? It's just.
I mean, the Sullivan County just got $2 million from the state for their land bank to, and then all of those activities would require board approval here. Well, board approval of the land bank board. And we would, be paid for the,
Charge a fee.
we'd charge a fee.
There'd be no governance intertwining of the
No,
board of the CDC, the board of the land bank.
what we envision is, you can have 5 to 15 members. The plan now, which is what I'm going to be discussing with the chairman on Thursday, is appointing either elected or county officials initially to the land bank. So, you know, be 3 supervisors and county attorney. Other counties have done the county treasurer, other counties have done the planning director. But, you know, it would basically be a county entity where they would ask us to enter into a supplemental contract. And one thing that we do see is that once the ARPA housing money expires, the county still needs to focus on affordable housing. And they see this as an opportunity to get state funding to manage that. But this is a good discussion.
Just timing this, so the time you go, so September 13th, there are only 7 charters left, right? So when you apply to create the land bank or approve, you can immediately apply for startup funding. So that covers your ad with that. There's also another round of funding for land banks coming up almost right at the same time. September. That's the remaining pot of money this year's land bank fund.
And I think we are getting a little bit blurry because the county would have to apply, and they, right now, as running the task force, they would ask us to do the staff work to allow them to apply. And the grant money would flow to the county or would flow from the state to the county's land bank. And then if this board approved hiring us to, allowing us to serve as the administrator, then the land bank, which would have their own bank account and financials, would pay us on a monthly basis.
Management is in favor of development of the land bank for the county, supportive of the county seeking this funding.
Yeah. And I think
A
that
future decision would be an approval of an administrative contract.
Right.
To help support the land bank.
And if the board decided at that point, you know, based on a further evaluation of the risk and reward, and the determination was that you didn't want us to, then the county would use the $150,000 to hire someone to direct it themselves. But at this point, a startup land bank wouldn't have enough business activity to justify a staff, so they would be looking to use some entity. Maybe they'd hire Habitat, maybe they'd hire some other group to manage it. So yes, the blurring is when we have the contract with the county to address affordable housing, that we're not only working for them.
So we don't have to do anything.
I would
You
wait
asked if
till
we should.
the county.
At this point, we're taking direction from the county under the contract of, that they have with us to provide staff for them to address affordable housing.
Just final question. If we make a motion to support this and it gets approved, like, what does that mean? No.
By committee of the board of supervisors that was not approved on the consent agenda.
Sounds interesting. I say we do nothing.
And
Does it harm you in any way?
No, this is actually old hat for me. I co-created the Detroit City Land Bank as director of operations for 4 years.
We wait till next month to see how it flows.
There you go.
It's simple enough.
And if not,
learned something.
and if not, to the extent that we've done any work on it, we've already been paid because of the existing housing contract. I think it gives you a tool, and the big risk is if the 7 are gone, and maybe find that we just make the cut,
does the legislature, because of the progressives in the city, say, well, we're not gonna do any more upstate land banks? And if you get one and you don't, and the county decides they don't like, the people they appoint to it don't like what it does or how it does it, they just give it back.
I think it's a beautiful, then you get all the money. It's all the fair up there.
The other thing is, if you transfer the land to the land bank, and we sell it, maybe we get the premium that the Supreme Court says. But I think it's a good point that we need to identify whether it's the Hudson IDA, whether it's a land bank, whether it's the county IDA, when we're working under a contract. We might get in a situation where we're promoting something that the board doesn't approve yet. That's a very good point to make. For instance, if the we didn't get it, we're getting somebody else. But it does bring up the issue of what role the board should be playing in policy, which we our earlier attempts at that didn't work out so well, so we backed off. But I think we do have that holy pulpit to encourage things that may have some controversy. Our last experience was with the global gas station at Bell's Pond, where we came out with a very strong supportive statement, and we should have just stayed in our lane that anyone who spends $4 million is creating economic development activity, instead of, it was the most environmentally progressive gas station in the United States. Now, in fact, they have 2 levels of soil protection by encapsulating any fuel that's spilled, where the one they had across the street in the 50s, which had none. So we weren't wrong that it was more environmentally protective. Thank you. This was really a good discussion.
We need action on the 11 Warren Street property.
Did we approve the assignment agreement at the last meeting? I thought we did. If we didn't, is there a motion to approve the entering into a assignment agreement with Columbia County to transfer the CEDC's rights under the contract with Galvin to purchase 11 Warren Street?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's carried.
The potential bill spender resolution.
So we're good. Broadband, Columbia Forward and housing, we're done.
Yeah, on Columbia Forward, we are having a joint event with the Chamber on Thursday, September 21st at Barracks Distillery, and 5 to 7 or something, but we'll get the notice out. And the last one we had was at the steakhouse that's going to close.
Okay. We're done unless anyone has anything. Anyone from the, Jim?
Justin Goldman, has he been formally elected to the board?
Yes.
Yeah, you came last time.
We did have a quorum last time, right?
At the loan committee meeting, but
We finally got a quorum, and he
Oh,
voted
you're
him
kidding.
in,
Yeah.
and he's come to a meeting. We didn't formally welcome him, but
He's been elected.
it's just not.
All right, good.
Just checking on the area. Anything else? Public comment? I don't see any public.
Happy we approve things 2 or 3 times.
Motion adjourned.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you.
Guys.